Ronnie says, have a great show.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Dizzy, up for episode number 32 of What You Got to Say. I have got my crazy co-host in the building. What's up, Miss Kela Mahogany?
Hey, y'all. Whew, let's get our minds right today.
What's up, Mr. Tyrone Greggory?
Hey, y'all already know what it is. Gang, gang. Let's get it.
What's up, Miss Cool Candice?
Hey, y'all. What up, man? It's time.
Whoa, got back feedback. Sorry. And of course, you guys can see that I have a guest in the building. This is Dr. Whitlow, and she is currently a private practice psychologist in the greater Cleveland area, where she provides life-changing psychotherapy to a diverse clientele population. Y'all welcome Dr. Whitlow.
Hey.
So what we are doing today is we feel we need a mental health check. So over the past, I'm going to say 7 months, but more preferably this past week has been crazy. And so with so many changes happening in everyone's lives over the past 7 or 8 months, we do try to our best to tap into some things that people are, struggling with or have issues with or just want to get off their chest. So today we want to talk about mental health. So how are you guys feeling? What have these past 7 months done to you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally? What's going on in your heads? Doesn't have to be the past 7 months. We can also talk about this week. Anyway.
Well, I'm happy that the chaos can come to an end. Like that, I felt relief this week, or actually yesterday. I think the pressure was kind of building up until yesterday when they announced, and then it was like, whew, we don't have to fight with him anymore. We don't have to fight with that messaging. You don't have to hear the amount of lies. That's I think what was bothering me the most, being in a pandemic and then being lied to by the American government so blatantly on TV, and then having other news channels like support that as if it's fact, as if it's truth, come up with arguments against it, to see CNN like devolve into what they had to devolve into because there needed to be another voice combating all of that. And so they didn't, they had to do what they had to do. And so I'm happy to even think that there's a possibility that comes to an end and my mental health can recover.
Okay. What about you, Miss Candice? Especially you, because you were talking a lot about you living in Texas, and I know what we've seen on television just this past week about what is going on in Texas. What do you have?
It's a lot. So it was to the point that my husband was like, election day, you're not going to work. The day after, you're not going to work. You're going to put in leave because you don't know what's going to happen outside. There are a lot of people who are pissed off that the election didn't go the way they wanted it to. There are Trump supporters that are on multiple sides of my house, flags waving in the wind, and yard signs are all up and down the streets outside of my neighborhood. So there are a lot of people who did support him, but due to the election results, there were even more who didn't. So that's one thing. And then just the fact of trying to still interact with people on a regular basis. Whereas now things are going to be completely different because not only are we not in election season right now, we have our results. So you have to deal with those who may be upset because they didn't get the result that they wanted, but because of the way I look or the way that you look, they know, or they're assuming that you didn't vote the way that they voted. So they're already feeling some type of way about you. So they may start treating you a certain type of a way just because of that. You also have to deal with those who have felt a certain type of way for, the past 7 months, and then the past 4 years or 3.5 years. So it's 3 3/4 or whatever. Looking at whether they felt the need to, or were ballsy enough to talk shit to your face, like Black lives don't matter or all lives matter. Okay, all lives do matter, however, but all lives aren't being threatened right now. The Black ones are. So that's why we're saying Black lives matter. If we needed to change it, Black lives matter too. That's essentially what we're saying. Like, don't forget about us. We work just as hard here. We contribute just as much here. So don't forget about us. Don't treat us like dogs in the street, or, kind of kick us to the curb because you feel that you're better than us. Baby, I promise you I got more education than most of y'all. I'm just saying. So don't come for me some kind of way.
I got married.
I will make you feel like shit and not use not one cuss word. I can make you feel about this big. Right. So there are a lot of people who feel like just because of the way things are, we want to make America great again. Tell me where or when and what point in history it was so amazing that you like to go back to. Because where we are right now is definitely better than where it was 400 years ago. It's definitely better than it was 200 years ago. 50 years ago, it's definitely better than where we were. So what is it that you're trying to accomplish by saying you want to make it great again, as in you're trying to go back to a point where you thought it was so amazing that we needed to get back to that point? Tell me how. Tell me what you were thinking, or what your thought process was for that. So where we are right now, where I am, we're watching our six, because you don't know who's going to be froggy and decide to jump.
Right. Greg, what about you, Beck?
I tell you like this, look, I'm glad everything went the way it went with this election thing, but when it comes to my mental health, listen, can we have a moment of silence for my mental health? Because these kids are still going virtual schooling, and I'm at home every damn day, and I don't even know half the shit that they be talking about. And then I get to talking to the teacher, and then the teacher be like, look, I don't even know half the shit I'm teaching them. And I'm like, hold on, bitch. I'm just saying.
Get it together.
I be trying to.
You needed this episode, didn't you, Greg?
I needed this. Thank Dr. Whitlow. Don't charge me for this.
You know what though? So first, if I can kind of sum up what I'm hearing, because I think it resounds with so many people of color and so many people who are targets in this country. The fact that there is an interpersonal insecurity that we feel dealing with people. We are looking at everyone, all of our fellow Americans, our neighbors, and we're wondering, what do you support? What do you think? What do you think about me? What is your value for my life? And it causes us to be defensive and on edge and to feel very unsafe. And what Kela and Candice both said is exemplifying that. So Kela took the perspective of the news, and I have to wonder, what is your mission and aim that you are spinning a story and lying to us and supporting lies that hurt me? So what is really your aim, right? And it causes us to feel unsafe. And then Candice, you talked about people around you. I mean, your next door neighbors, your husband saying, no, baby, you're not going to work. We have to be in protect mode. And it has caused this insecurity and sense of us not being safe. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because we know about fight or flight, right? We know when we start to feel threatened, when we don't feel safe, that people can then react in ways that would typically be outside of their norm. But for the fact of, I need to protect myself, I'm willing to go here. And that's a scary thing. So first, I wanted to just identify and point that out. Now, to go to Greg, I'm sorry, being that I'm new here, Greg, I wanted to go to his point, because that's what I was going to say. Even though I know I'm the mental health professional, I want to share how I am doing, because on top of what's been going on this week, we have the pandemic, we have just the trauma. It seems like 2020, its aim was to come for us and see how many of us it could take out. All the deaths that we've had to experience this year, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with jobs, dealing with the economy. Me, myself, I have a daughter who is a freshman in college. So she went to Louisiana, 1,100 miles away from here. And I'm dealing with that transition of going into parenting an adult child who thinks that now she doesn't need me. And I'm sitting over here like, wait, can we make this transition slower? Because it's hard for me. So that I have a 6-year-old who is homeschooling. We have not sent him back. And so, Greg, the dynamics that you were talking about the demands of having to fulfill that responsibility, wanting to make sure that your child does not get behind, wanting to make sure that you're still able to work and support the family. There are just so many different dynamics. Life is traumatic already. Right. And then you add all of this extraordinary, outstanding stuff, and it's hard. So I want to put this first term out there on the table: PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A condition that we typically reserve for the military. We typically reserve for very extreme, severe cases of harm, and we don't acknowledge and recognize how active and how common PTSD is in our everyday lives. And so I kind of want to jump that off. And does that connect with any of you as I use the term PTSD? Are you feeling yourself having trauma responses, being overloaded with trauma? How do you feel you're dealing with it? So I just kind of want to put that back out there to you guys.
Well, after 12 years in the military and my couple of deployments, I already suffered from that anyway. But I mean, a lot of us coming from the neighborhoods we grew up in and things like that, we already have it anyway. I mean, growing up in Indianapolis in the inner city, I've seen shootouts and things like that as a kid. Growing up, that's already traumatic anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, we gotta put those kind of things in a box, and then we gotta grow up. And now we're in a day and age where now we gotta watch our back because of political beliefs and things like that. It's crazy, but like it is traumatic because we have to live this way. But some of us are used to it because we grew up this way. So it's like we compartmentalize. Is that the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm saying? We tuck it away, and we don't respond to it like we should. We don't talk about it. We don't go and get that help because it's normalized to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would say that I kind of feel the same way as Kela and as well as Candice. I mean, I already talked about the kids thing, but I didn't realize till after the fact that I pre-planned when I'm going to the grocery store by dates, like by election day is this day. And although I was like, okay, I don't know what day they're gonna make the decision, but I don't want to be in these streets when they do. I don't want to be out there. I wanted to go, shopping, for my son because he needs new clothes or whatever the case may be. And I took a look at the news to see, okay, are they even close? They can't finish counting? All right, y'all ain't even close. Come on, let's go to Old Navy. Let's go to Forever 21. Let's go do what we got to do because they're not coming out with an answer tonight. I found myself in the store, so as a civilian employee, and as also people as military, they constantly preach to you OPSEC, OPSEC, OPSEC. Watch, pay attention to everything. Stay vigilant. Be observant. You know what I mean? And for a long time, I'm like, I can pass this little webinar test for my job. All right, I'm good. But a lot of that training came into play this week. I'm paying attention to people in the store. I'm paying attention to their body language. I'm paying attention to how many are staring at me a little bit too long. I'm paying attention to where I am parking. I'm paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Not that I shouldn't have before, but I should not feel like I need to do that so much because of this election. You know what I'm saying? Like, not because of an election. I can understand feeling this way the day after 9/11. Something big. And I'm not saying that this isn't big, but I'm like, really, you know? I will also say that I kind of had to do, I found myself having to do a check-in with some people that I really feel have another perspective of things than I have, because I was feeling, last week, I want to say the word is betrayed. Does that make, I felt betrayed last, I think I found the label, Kela, of what it was I was feeling, because I have people that I felt had my best interest at heart. But the more I started looking at the posts that were being made on social media by them, I'm like, there's no way. You can't love me and vote for someone who hates people who look like me. You can't have it both ways. And I ended up unfriending and blocking some individuals that I felt that I was friends with for years. But I just say a good conversation with people who had another point of view were like, you need to be careful, because at the end of the day, if shit hits the fan and they've got to choose, you are not the choice. They're telling you with their vote, you are not the choice. So that was the big thing for me this week, the betrayal piece, I think.
Yes. And, you know, to go back to your point of how you were responding when you were going into the store, the hypervigilance that you found yourself using as a psychologist, what scares me is that what I know is once we start to open those doors, sometimes we don't then come back. Right? Sometimes then that hypervigilance stays. Sometimes then it starts to become pervasive and it starts to overtake other areas of our lives, other times of our lives. So it goes outside of just, oh, election week, we know that people are acting crazy. I need to be on edge and I need to be watchful now. And it turns into something that I am doing this in all areas of my life with all people. And it turns from a protective and healthy hypervigilance to a paranoia, and I can't control it and stop it, you know? And so from a mental health perspective, that's where the concern comes in for me. And even when Greg was talking about the compartmentalizing, right, that's a very healthy thing to do until it becomes too much, until you can no longer compartmentalize and they all become one. And now it is pervasive throughout your life. And so from a mental health perspective, that's one of the messages that I really want to make sure to put out there today, because my professional mission and motto is to help people to understand that mental health and mental illness are different. Mental health is an everyday, everybody experience, and it is encompassed in our everyday lives. And if we don't manage our mental health issues well, that they will then become mental illness. And I don't think people realize that. People think mental illness is this big, ugly, scary thing that only the person who's walking up the street talking to himself and he's homeless and he is, you know, despondent and dirty. That's all that mental health is. No, that's not. That is the most severe side of mental illness. But all these everyday stressors that we deal with every day, we're challenged with mental health issues every day, because mental health issues are simply the things that we feel, think, and the ways that we then react to them. So every day, all the time, we're thinking something, we're feeling something, and we're reacting and behaving in some way. That's all that mental health is.
Right.
So we are encountering mental health issues all the time. How much do they pile up and then stress us to the point where they actually change aspects of our character and mental health makeup and push us to then become mentally ill?
Right. Yeah. So we have somebody that was in the comments that said, very true, this whole situation has wanted to make her smack every white Becky. Everyone she wanted to smack. And then when I mentioned the part for being betrayed, she said, correct, betrayed is exactly what I feel. It makes you feel like what you condone, you are complicit with. So I hear you, Sherry. I think she said this conversation is so needed. We got you, Sherry. We were feeling it too. I promise you.
We have a,
Yeah.
I have a comment from Shane. He says, I think the whole MAGA is kind of about one thing. It's uncomfortable to look at our culture with a critical aim. It stops them from having to take responsibility and put in effort into their homes and into their communities. MAGA is such a blind catchphrase.
I agree. I agree. So
I know
that
I'm looking at that, and to piggyback on what Dizzy was saying, as far as just kind of planning your trips from when you're going out places and trying to figure out what you're about to do. I found myself doing the same thing. I think it was maybe like 2 days after the election, and we kind of ran out of dog food, or we were low on it, and I needed to go to the store and get some, and they still hadn't come to a conclusion yet. And I was like, I'm just gonna order this online from Walmart and have them delivered.
right.
I'm not going anywhere. So being that, you know, the area where we're in, we're outside of the city limits of San Antonio. So Bexar County, which is where San Antonio is, was completely blue. Not purple, not a maroon, no, blue. But everything outside of that, blood red. I live in the blood red area. So I'm gonna stay home. I'm just gonna order this stuff online. You can drop that on my front porch. Appreciate you. Y'all have a good day. And I'm gonna bring my stuff in. I don't have to, you know, kind of brave the streets and go out there and see, you know, okay, do I need to make sure I can watch my back every, you know, time I go down a grocery store aisle, or if I'm standing, you know, in the grocery store and or I'm standing, you know, in the line ready to check out or something, a person kind of gets too close with their buggy, and I'm like, hey, 6 feet, back up. like it's just trying to figure out where we are right now. The thing is, although so many people did vote for Joe Biden, and still a lot of people did vote for Donald Trump, those people who felt the gall to say things in our faces and do things to us and react to us in a certain way, they're not just going to go away just because they didn't win.
Right.
Like, those thoughts didn't go away. Those actions that they were portraying aren't just going to magically stop. Granted, you know, COVID has kind of made everybody confined a lot of people to their homes, and everyone is starting to come back out and do more now. But if you look, mass shootings went down while we were in the house. Dave Chappelle talked about that on SNL last night.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that have gone down, and, you know, violence in some instances has gone down, but then you have to look at the other side of things that have increased. More racial tension has been going on within the past few years than we've had in quite a while, because there are so many people that are yelling MAGA and wearing their red hats and, you know, waving their flags in their yards, or here in Texas, hanging them on the back of their trucks and having their mini parades during the week when everybody should be at work or at school or something. We're trying to figure out, okay, where does this have a place in society? Because I don't remember any of this when Obama was running. I don't remember any of this when Clinton was running. I don't remember any of this when either Bush was running. Like, I can remember different things that were going on during each election season. And I don't recall this amount of racial tension ever. Like, this
thing. Even though I know we probably know the answer to why, I would like to hear the best way possible, if she is able to. What, other than the obvious, what do you feel made this shift so strong, Dr. Willow?
Yeah,
what made this shift so strong?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that Trump gave people permission. I think this is what we all know and are thinking. Trump gave people permission to actually show and demonstrate what they really believed and what they were really feeling. And so there was a safe space created for them to come out and be and exemplify the racist beliefs and ideals that they held. That's the first thing. The second thing, though, is the fact that this demonstrates how weak people's sense of identity and sense of selves really is. You have
Right.
Donald Trump, who is an over the top, grandstanding, he's a narcissistic personality. He is, I want all the attention, bells and whistles. And you have very weak identitied people that are gravitating and grabbing on to that and being him. Because I really don't have a sense of self and who I really am. And so I'm taking on your persona. We have never seen campaign banners and flags. You always had people that had yard signs, but banners and flags, that is a Trumpian display of narcissism. I want to be the center of attention. Everything needs to be grand, fireworks around me. And people who don't really have any independent thoughts of their own, any sense of identity of themselves, just blindly taking on this unfortunately very unhealthy identity that Trump has put out there for people. And that, from a psychological perspective, is one of the most alarming parts. We know that people are weak and can be weak-minded. We know, especially in the kind of country that we have and the way that our education system is set up, where it's really set up for people to memorize and be
comply.
Yes, to
They're
comply.
herded. They're just memorizing and regurgitating. That's it.
Yes, yes, you are not. We don't promote our children to have independent thoughts, to explore what their identity is, and to exemplify that. You know, the school system, the government has always been afraid of that. So we know that we have weak-minded people and weak identity people, but we are now seeing the very worst aspects of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, oh, Mark, oh, you are so smart.
Thank you.
God, that was amazing. That was amazing.
So my question, the next question is, why is the subject of mental health / mental illness so taboo? Now, I know it's, and I believe, but you can confirm me if tell me if I'm wrong. I know that it's extremely taboo in the African American culture, but why overall, and also within our own culture, what makes getting help, having a talk, expressing your emotions, getting in tune with who you are, why is that so taboo in the culture, period?
Yes, the same reason that saying Black Lives Matter is an issue. Historically, what we have been taught about mental health, you know, the underpinnings of mental health, in this country at least, began in witchcraft, right? And witches, and going out and hunting witches. So these are people who, in many cases, had legitimate psychosis going on with them, which is a mental health issue, but it was seen as demonic. It was seen as witchcraft. It was seen as something other than human. And that historical thought of, of mental health still exists. Just last night, I was watching on the OWN channel, Iyanla Van Zant, Shay Johnson. Y'all know Shay, so she's on there, and her attitude, right? Her family was calling her rude and disrespectful. Nobody can talk to her. She thinks that she controls the world, and her family hadn't been talking to her for several months. And her mother was like, it's a demonic spirit. Ayanna, there's nothing that you can do for that girl because she is a demon. In 2020, this woman's mother is looking at what is very clearly some mental health stuff and some trauma stuff, because we know that when Black women present in this mean way, it ain't nothing but hurt. It ain't nothing but the trauma that this society has placed on me, and I've had to figure out how to get people up off me. Because you're raping me, you turn me into a sex tool, you demean my thoughts, even though me and my group are the fastest growing people of people that are going to school, who are securing high jobs, who are changing the climate of this country. You still look at me as less than, and so I have to be defensive. We understand all of that is going on, but her mama called her a demon. right? And so whether people are consciously aware or not of how much they hold those very skewed historical ideas, I think that is so much a part of what makes mental health a taboo issue. Now, you mentioned the African American piece. I'm just going to say a little bit so y'all can jump in. But for Black people, what I think makes mental health so taboo is that we already have so much that we're fighting. We already have so many things that we are trying to prove to people we are not, so many things that we are trying to overcome. I don't want just one more thing. I know that I'm depressed, but I don't want nobody to know that, because that's just one more thing that this society is going to use against me.
Mm.
And it's a financial privilege to be able to take care of your issues, because you're already financially trying to just take care of your basic needs for survival. And so trying to go deeper into your mental health is just like, okay, I don't have the money for that. Even though I might know I need it, but let me just try to, take care of this until I can get to a point to where I can, get it taken care of. And I think that, yeah, it's really always been priced out of our communities. And as far as the professionals, the ones who can actually help, who've gone to school, who can teach us, and then to have to where it's like, can you find you a Black therapist? Can you find you a Black psychologist, psychiatrist? That is also something that is necessary for, for Black people to have somebody that can relate and not just brush off what they're feeling at the moment, but can actually go back into their own life and from a position of understanding, help them out. And so I'm very happy that therapy is becoming online, and so that it's more accessible to all people.
Right. So we have somebody in the comments that's saying, the reason that it's taboo in our society is because people have this thought that God's going to fix it all. That she also says, don't forget, it's faith and works, not just faith. Let me see. Frank Olivier, he says it is difficult to call for help because we are programmed to be strong by society. And it's hard to recognize it when you're a victim, because however you suffer, you will never suffer more than your ancestor. Sherry says therapy literally helps some stay the course. Right. Having a professional who looks like me. I agree with that.
I'll tell you something else though, sis. They phased out Big Mama. Big Mama was everybody's therapist. We don't have Big Mama in the families no more in the Black community. Think about it. I mean, we really don't. Grandmothers are getting younger and younger and younger and younger. They talk. We got grandmamas on TikTok talking about they WAP. What the hell?
What? So I can't talk about my WAP when I get 62? Hold on.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't. But what I'm saying is, when we grew up, when we were young, Big Mama wasn't talking about none of that. Big Mama was telling you, go sit down somewhere, cross your legs. Come here. You need to talk. What's going on in your life? We ain't got that no more.
I don't know.
Have any of you gone? Oh, go ahead, Kate. Go ahead, Kate. Okay.
I'll say, like, to piggyback on what Greg was saying, there were young grandmas back then, because if you think about it, there wasn't a lot of talk about your mental health at that point. There wasn't a lot of talk about how reproduction works. When women were getting raped back then, or they were being forced to go get married or to start working so young in their age, they started their families young. So a lot of grandmothers back then were 15, 14, and 16 years old. And then when they had started having their kids, the same thing happened. So they kept that cycle going where you're 15, 16 years old and you started having kids. And then back then, because either they didn't have, the access to contraception or, anything like that, they kept having kids. So that's why Big Mama had 12 kids, or that's why your aunt had, 15 kids on their side. But they lived to the point where they saw so much, so they were able to have those conversations and talk with people about, they didn't know it was mental health, but they were just talking just to see where your mind was and how were you feeling and what was going on in your life that had you so stressed or had you so, kind of going through some things. And then to bring it up to now, I think because of what has happened back then, a lot of people aren't or were scared to talk about their mental health because they heard from their aunties who heard from their grandmama that, you know, oh, well, you know, with Johnny, he had that, he was old crazy dude, you know, crazy Johnny from down the street. They finally got him and they took him downtown and we ain't seen him since. And so they stopped talking about, you know, these issues that you're having within your own mind, because in our mind, or people were thinking, okay, well, if I talk about what's going on with me mentally, they're gonna strap me to a chair and
Right.
put me in a jacket and take me downtown, and I'm not gonna see my family no more.
Right.
Whereas now, you know, we're coming to a place where we can actually discuss these things, and it's becoming more normalized. But you still have those rural areas where it's still taboo for you to even talk about sex with your kids, or for you to discuss, you know, well, my uncle touched me and I don't like how it felt. I don't know if that was right or not, but he's my uncle and I'm supposed to feel safe with him, so I'm not gonna say nothing. And then you have little boys that are going through that as well, where they're like, well, my cousin was babysitting me, and you know, they told me not to tell my mama if I did this to them, but that it was gonna make them feel good. So you got these little kids that are going through these things now, which is the exact same thing that happened to the perpetrator, and they're continuing that cycle because no one talked to them, or they didn't know, okay, this is wrong. This isn't something that you need to continue to do to anyone else. We need to get you some help. Let's go talk to somebody about it.
Right.
So a lot of people are internalizing those things and just keeping them to themselves, and it's just balling up. And then whenever they do lash out, or whenever it does, you know, all blurt out all at once or something, then now it's kind of past the point of no return. You can't really fix the problems or the issues that they've caused with other family members or with other people that have been in their circle that they were considered that they should be able to trustworthy for.
Right. So I know that I've seen, I will talk more so within the past 7 months. The previous job that I had a lot of webinars and trainings and things like that for us to be able to recognize symptoms in children, especially with stress or depression or whatever, especially caused by this pandemic. And so a lot of people are seeing their children personalities shift a little bit, you know, and they're not understanding what is going on with my kid. And it's not just because you don't normally spend 24 hours a day with your child. It's that, you know, our children are also going through changes or I don't know what word to use, but they're going through changes, issues. And I've actually had to intentionally take time to sit down and talk through those things with my kids, because if y'all think y'all are stressed as adults for COVID, children have it hard. They have it worse because they haven't already developed these coping skills and hobby. What the hell is that to a 5-year-old? You know what I mean? They don't have those things, and so they don't have these coping mechanisms. And it's funny because I would have to have from time to time have conversations with my husband because he didn't understand why my son is, you know, moody and acting a particular way. And as men, I'm not saying all, men, I feel, are less likely to sit down and have that conversation about how are you feeling than the mom is. And so I think I saw something, I know it was a meme or something on TikTok. It was funny to me, but it was like, you know, the Black boy walks in to his dad and he's like, hey, Dad, I'm feeling kind of down. I'm feeling depressed. And the dad was like, you better go depress those dishes, because he didn't even acknowledge that the child said, I'm feeling something, you know. And just like, and again, yesterday, I can't remember this guy's last name. He was a CNN correspondent this year. I know his name is Van something.
Jones.
Van Jones.
When he spoke yesterday, I felt it.
Every bit of
felt every bit of what he said. but I saw some of the ugliest comments from Black men saying,
Because he was
suck
holding
it
his tears
up,
back. Yeah.
suck it up. Why you crying? He looked like a punk, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, y'all are chastising this man for showing how he feels, for releasing what has been pent up inside, for what some of you probably have laid in your wife's lap and done the same. And they chastise him publicly for this. And I think that is sick. And I'm like, this is where you lead to the men that don't know how to process their anger. So you're drinking it away, smoking it away, slapping people, slapping women up, or, you know, whatever outlet you have found to cope, versus just say, what is the problem? You know, I will never understand. If you don't want to be the one standing up there crying, that's fine. But for you to point and chastise somebody else for releasing that, I think that is horrible to do.
We react most strongly to those things that are in us most strongly. And so for those men who have and are holding all of those feelings, but have never learned how to, or have been discouraged from, that's why they're responding so strongly. And so and not just with men, but I think in general, we have done such a bad job of helping people, like we were talking about, connect with their authentic selves. We have done such a bad job of helping people to identify and connect with the essence of truly who they are, their personality, what makes them happy and satisfied. So many people are doing what they think is supposed to be done to accomplish the American dream, right? Which is one avenue that a small group of white men hundreds of years ago said is the way to do it. And we are not fully happy and fully connecting with ourselves. And so when you see those men making those comments, it's because I have so much of that reaction within me, but nobody ever gave me permission to say and do that. I never felt the confidence to be vulnerable in that way. So I'm really angry at you for being able to do and be and have the courage to stand in a way that I never was able to, you know. And it is so deeply connected to mental health. Because I'm going to tell you, the most talkative, verbose group of people that I have in my office are men. So that idea that men don't talk, when I'm doing marital therapy, the wife cannot get a word in. The man is just waiting for a safe place for somebody to say, I know you have thoughts and feelings, versus we typically walk around in society with the assumption, you know, this man don't really have no thoughts about that. He's not trying to talk about those things. But getting into a safe place where somebody is saying, I know you feel something, tell me, you can't get them to stop. You know.
Wow. Yeah. So we have some people in here saying, yes, therapy literally helps some of us stay the course. And I already said that part. Somebody did agree. Yes, we don't have no more big mamas, so that's part of the problem. I have Amelia that says, when you have worked in mental health, it is hard to accept your own mental health. That it needs care. She used to work in a mental health facility, and she said, sometimes you forget about you, because you're trying to help everybody else. Sherry says, very true. Her son is not doing well with virtual learning. She agrees that some men, Black in particular, feel like they can't show emotion. And she feels that everything that we are saying is absolutely correct. And we got somebody saying, preach. So, yes, Mr. Greg.
Going back to something you were saying, though, like a lot of these parents aren't understanding about when it comes to their children. You know, these kids aren't getting a chance to socialize. And that's a big part of being a child. Mm-hmm. They're getting taken away from that right now. And we have to find ways to open it up. Like what we're doing right now, I urge parents, do a Zoom party for your kids with their friends. Allow them to Zoom with their friends. I promise you, it will actually help. because my kids walk around here looking crazy at times, and I'll be like, hey, y'all need to step it up. Hey, what's going on? What y'all need? I'm one of those dads that do ask how you feeling, but that is an idea that I just want to give to some of these parents because we need solutions. We can't just come with what are the problems. We got to come with some answers and solutions to
Right.
these problems.
Right. I found the same thing with my daughter as well. She went from being at a child development center where she was pretty much around her friends 8 to 10 hours a day to
Mm-hmm.
only 24 kids, 8 to 10 hours a day to mama, daddy, brother.
Right.
That's it. Mama, daddy, brother. Mama, daddy, brother. And I mean, we're adults, and my son is a teenager, so I didn't realize until after a while, like my child is fiending to play,
Yep.
but not play the way we want to play, the way she needs to play. And we started recognizing like changes in her personality, and she was getting meaner and all that. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And I had to sit down and just kind of cuddle her one day, and she just kind of you just kind of felt the, you know what I mean? You just kind of felt it like this is all I kind of needed was this, and so I'm intentionally making time that I've got to sit and play with just her, no brother, just me and her. I've sent my son off, go stay with your grandma for 3 days. It's just gonna be me and Naomi and my husband. Then I did the flip. Naomi, go stay with grandma for 3 days, and we're gonna pay attention, give more attention to Xavier so they can have that time apart. But again, it's taking time to be able to recognize that.
That's why I love being retired and being a big ass kid because I'm at home and then I play with my kids however they want to play. I don't even know how to play video games, but I let them beat my ass on the video game. I don't care. I don't care. My daughters, what you want me to do? You want to paint your toenails? Okay, I got you. What you want to do? We want to build a fort? We'll build a fort. I'll go get some boxes. What you want to do?
Right.
I don't care. So, I mean,
Frank says his 10-year-old son went to school and exchanged his mask with his friends because there was Captain America drawn on the mask. We just trying to do the best with the situation. It's anxious, but we worry, and we'll worry every day. We won't get out of this mental pressure that's what he's trying to say. If we worry about this every day, we'll never get out of this mental pressure. We just have to accept the fact that we aren't going to be able to control everything. Vivian says having Zooms with their friends and or classmates is a great idea. Parents do need to look for ways they can have them socialize because it is a huge piece of their development. That is absolutely true.
Shane, a question over here. He says, how does the church feed into the mismanagement of emotional perception?
How does what? The church? Don't get me started. I don't got nothing to say about that one.
Hey, this for Cabana would have been good.
Cabana would have been good answer.
Yeah, Cabana should have been here for that one.
We can answer our pieces of it, but if he comes back on before we're done, he needs to answer that too. But I'm gonna let Dr. Whitlow speak first. I have my own ideas about that.
Well, what I want to highlight is the fact that I definitely think here recently that churches, particularly the Black churches, are beginning to understand that they are out of their league trying to deal with and treat mental health issues. One of the things that I do in the region of the country that I live in is I go around and I do trainings with pastors about mental health issues, how they can identify mental health crisis within the congregation that they work with, how they can refer them to mental health providers that can help them. And then I also work with pastors on treating their own mental health issues, because I think with some of the highlighted crises that have happened with mass shootings in churches, we had a couple mass shootings in the early 2000s in Black churches. I think that it's beginning to be brought to light that mental health issues and spiritual health are connected in some ways, but are different, right? So we have this holistic perspective of mind, body, and spirit. And so under this holistic perspective, there's a connection that emotional health and spiritual health have, but they are independent. And that it is very important that just as myself as a as a psychologist, I'm not going to try to preach a sermon to anyone. You as a pastor cannot try to provide mental health treatment. And I think under the old ideology, which some people still do function up under that, but that you just got to pray it away. You know, you don't believe in God enough, and that's why these things are happening to you, or even this idea that you're going through what you're going through as a punishment because God is trying to teach you something. Job is one of the main ones that I think can be harmful, because you look and say, if you don't have the strength and the faith of Job with what you're going through, then you are weak in some ways, and it causes people to feel like I need to stay quiet and not seek the help, when really what I'm under is a mental health crisis. I know that I'm having thoughts of killing myself or killing someone else. I know that I'm seeing and hearing things that aren't there, because what we don't recognize, and I want to highlight this, depression particularly. Depression is such a dangerous mental health condition because it's the most common mental health condition that we're most comfortable saying, oh yeah, I'm depressed. And because it's so common, people then downplay it, and they don't treat it and manage it like they should. They don't take it serious like they should. And what we don't understand is that depression is the #1 mental illness that can turn into psychosis. So
it kills.
huh?
It kills.
Yes, yes. And so from depression, you can get to such a despondent space that you then end up becoming psychotic. And then once you become psychotic, you are compromised with being able to take care of yourself on basic levels. And then that's when your livelihood, your safety, your basic needs, then all are threatened. And then that's where the it killing you comes from, you know?
So he said, exactly. So he was feeling everything. And he also said, as a gay man, I was told I was only failing the test that God had provided to make me a better Christian. We need to be for real on this one. But yes, yeah, that's something that he's spoken about.
Right. So I will say this. I am not a religious person. I feel that I am a spiritual person. Okay. Now I know some people say, well, spirits are demons too. Well, that's not who the hell I'm following. I don't believe in the actual structural institution of religion. I don't believe in the structural institution of the church. Because although I know no one's perfect, I see some of the worst behavior, some of the worst responses to certain things coming from churches that I've encountered. I'm not going to say every church on the planet. I'm just going to say for the ones that I have encountered. I feel that, yes, you must have faith in something. I agree 150%. Have faith in something. I believe there is something out there higher than myself. If you want to call him God, Buddha, Jehovah, whatever, choose your name. I don't care what you call him. Because if you look across most of the books, the same ultimate premise is the same. It's the same thing. Some eat pork, some don't eat shrimp. You don't want to eat a burger. Who cares? That's not the important pieces to me. And so when I need assistance, yeah, I pray. I do. I pray and I get answers. Now, who's sending them to me? I don't know. It could, like I said, again, it could be God, it could be Jehovah, it could be whoever, it could be Shiva, Almighty Isis. I don't know. It could be anybody, or anything, should I say? But I feel that if that's the way you need to go to get what you think you need for the moment, try it. But if it's not working for you, I think you need to try another avenue. So my question for you, Dr. Whitlow, is what should you look for in yourself that cues you to know it's time you need some help?
So this is hard because what I'm going to say, most people aren't in touch with. But understanding your baseline, who you are and how you typically function, which unfortunately most people don't. But understanding your baseline, and when you are off from your baseline, even a little bit, then you need to seek help. It is not the point where you are so severe that your life is falling apart. That is too late. If you're to that point, then yes, still seek help. But what you want to do, and I often describe it to people on a continuum, 0 to 10. 0 is where you want to be. This is healthy. You're unbothered. There are no mental health triggers. There's no stressors. You are at just a nice, good ground 0. And then 10 is your absolute worst, right? You are in mental health crisis. You want to catch your stuff when you're at a 1, 2, 3, right? Because you have the best chances of being pulled back to your ground 0. You don't want to wait until you're at a 7, 8, 9, because you're closer to 10 than you are to 0. So where are you more likely to go? To this 10 point. So understanding what your baseline is, and when you are off from your baseline, even just a little bit, seeking help and support. And that may not always mean professional help. So if I know that I am a person who I always get 10 hours of sleep. Everybody doesn't get 10 hours. Some people can do fine off of 5. I get 10 hours of sleep and I'm only getting 6 to 7. Something is wrong. Maybe at that point is when I say, let me get an over-the-counter sleep aid. Let me get some melatonin. Let me see if I can get myself back on track. And then if I can't, let me go to the next level, right? But you have to know yourself. When I do presentations and when I speak, people often want to say, tell us what we can do. What are some tips that we can do to manage depression or manage anxiety, or, to deal with this divorce that's happened in our family? I can't tell you that, because for each and every different person, there is a different way that this stressor is impacting you. There's something different and unique that you need for you, because what works for me to help manage me and get me back balanced may not work for you, right? And that me having that perspective is the ultimate value and respect of you. I'm not going to put on you, you should be sleeping 10 hours a night too. I've never slept 10 hours a night. That's not healthy for me. That's not what I do. So I really urge people to be attentive to themselves and who and how they are when they're operating at their best, and take note of that. And when you get off of that wavelength of who you are at your baseline, at your best, is when you want to start seeking support. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Shane has a lot.
Go ahead, Kela.
Shane is on it today. I ask because I don't think we are taught enough about what makes a healthy environment for ourselves, and then measuring the impacts that environment and personalities can have on that space.
Yeah. And so I think he's saying exactly what I'm saying, that we are not in tune and in touch enough with ourselves, which has kind of been the theme of the conversation from the election. And then we talked about the education system. And then we haven't said it, but we're saying it with religion. Religion, not spirituality, but religion teaches you to simply blindly go by what this book says and what you're being told without question, right? And so there are so many different ways in this society that we are promoted to be disconnected from our true selves, from understanding who we really are and what helps us to be our healthiest self. We are told that there's this path and this one and only path, and if you're not on this path, then there's something wrong with you. So going back to Shane, if you're gay, there's something wrong with you. Absolutely not, right? And so yes, self-knowledge is so important. And then you springboard everything else from there.
And we're also fighting against slavery, because the only reason we know that about this book is because that's what we were taught to help control us, so that the few that could read it could then go out and help the other enslaved Africans, or control the other enslaved Africans. So that is actually the reason why Black Americans know about the Christian faith or the Christian Bible. And so that's what bothers me about that whole thing, is because in a fog and not being taught about it, I blindly followed, you know what I mean? Read the book, this is the way, this is what you're supposed to do. But then when you get older and you realize this is how it got to me, because it's been passed down through generations, and now it's like you're telling me the same. No, I don't want that. I don't want something that you used against my ancestors to now I follow as well. That I think we're fighting against that too, as we try to learn our authentic selves, because we have been trying to find ourselves through the lens of an oppressor.
Yes.
That's deep.
You said it. I was thinking it, but you said it.
Yes.
So,
And it's funny that you say that, because so, you know, every time I hear or experience anything that has to do with African culture, or when I see Americans experiencing pieces of African culture, of course I go and refer to the husband and be like, hey, okay, so is this really how it is? Is this really how they feel? And so we were watching something the other night. I can't remember what it was. No, I do. We were watching Lovecraft Country, and we were talking, and I asked him, I said, okay, so your region from where you are from is basically Catholic, right? He says, right. I said, but do you guys believe in like magic? Do you believe in witchcraft? Do you believe in the whole charging your crystals in the sun type stuff? He was like, yeah, they believe that. It's not like they both can't coexist. People make you they make you choose. You either or this or are that. But yes, there's plenty of people who do that. And I found it funny because I can't remember what song it was, but it was some song Beyonce came out with last summer. And she said, yeah, I charge my crystals in the moonlight to, you know, keep the haters away or something like that. It was something to that.
It was a full moon.
Thank you. And you had these people, oh, our culture, us, oh, Beyonce worships the devil. I said, because she put a crystal in the moon? What? What? I was like, I don't understand. You know, I didn't, and I think that was to the point. I was like, I don't even want to understand, because that is nonsense, because of the same thing that Kela just said. You are regurgitating a book that someone told you to follow without question. There's so many questions in that book that I guess they say, well, that's where the part of faith comes in. I get it, but there's too much stuff to me that doesn't make sense. So I take the pieces that I want from it, and then I go and look at something else and take the pieces from that. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm not kicking in the door doing no mass shootings. I'm not hating on I'm not hating on people who are homosexual. I'm not hating on trans. I'm not hating on a race. I'm not hating on a religion. I'm not hating on a people. So leave me alone. I'm not affecting you by not believing what you want me to. I'm not affecting you in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yes, you are, because now I can't control you. Yep. Now you threaten my sense of feeling safe and control, because you will not just put this blindfold on and put this muzzle in your mouth and just go where I say go. It completely messes up the whole dynamic of how this thing is supposed to run and flow. Because now you're free thinking, and oh my God, you might really realize and figure out what I've been trying to keep you from.
They don't want us to ask the number one question. What were our ancestors worshiping, believing before they came in and brought religion to us?
They don't even know. Yeah.
They stole us.
That's what I'm saying, but they don't want us to go back and start realizing and actually realizing within ourselves. Because once we start realizing within ourselves, they can't control us.
Right. Yep. So Frank Olivier says, so he has a question. He says, so because of COVID, neighbors in France seem to be more involved with each other. He lives in France. COVID didn't bring only ugly behaviors. Quarantine made us realize that we are all connected. I saw so much kindness that I would have never realized before. Is mental illness linked to what you decide to look at?
It certainly can be. Yes. So our perception of things. I have a series that I have put out that talks about the manipulation of our feelings and how our feelings are like a backstabbing, two-faced best friend, because our feelings can make us believe and think that something is true that is absolutely not. When we are in a state of anxiety, right? When we are in a state of depression, we believe that a situation is worse than it really is. And then once those feelings have surpassed, oh, we're much better now, right? And so that has to do with perspective and what we choose to look at and how we choose to look at it. So in that case, when we are still at the mental health level where we're trying to manage our mental health stressors, the way that we look at something can definitely impact that. Now, when we talk about mental illness, where someone actually has a legitimate diagnosis of depression, of agoraphobia, of psychosis, then not so much, because it becomes something that's neurological and biochemical. And so in addition to the interpersonal stressors that are causing the mental illness, there's also a neurological imbalance that is also occurring to promote that mental illness. And I say that to say, like with depression, right? Sometimes in trying to help someone who has depression per se, we end up saying things that are harmful. You know, oh, if you would just get up and get dressed and get yourself looking nice, then you would feel better. Oh, if you just look outside, the sun is shining and it's a beautiful day. You need to be grateful you woke up this morning. None of those things matter. They understand that and they wish more than you do that they could look at the sun shining and feel happy. That they could look at the fact that they woke up that morning and the depression be gone. But the depression is now a biological and neurological component that is beyond simple perception. So my response was twofold, and I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
It made a lot of sense because I actually do suffer from that, and I have a psychologist, and you know what I'm saying, I talk to my therapist and everything, but what you're saying is exactly, you know, not to put my business out there, but I'd rather put my business out there than anybody else.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But that is exactly how it feels. It's like, quit judging me. Why are you talking to me? If you're not trying to help me, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. I'm good. But you don't see it the way I see it. And I don't even understand why I'm seeing it the way I'm seeing it right now, and I'm trying to understand it.
Yes.
But while you're judging me, you're only making me feel worse, and actually you're making me resent even wanting to be around you. So leave me alone.
Right. Right.
But people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Greg, you made a point. Shane chimed in and said, ironically, Gaelic cultures are asking the same question that you had brought up. What were we worshiping before the colonization of a church-centered occupation?
Mm-hmm.
It's facts. It's facts.
Digging deep into like what was going on before, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because we don't know. It's been so washed out that we don't even know. Our parents don't know. Our parents' parents don't know. It's been so washed out that we really have to dig deep to figure this out.
Right.
We
Agreed.
still have to figure out what areas we kind of hail from, because the language was washed out, the culture was washed out. You don't know, like you can try and do the 23andMe or you know, but is that really telling you exactly where you hail from? Like
they're just ordering your DNA.
There's so much to unpack to try and figure out what area your family came from, or you know what mix of different areas you know made you. Right. It's hard to try and look at it and look at a piece of paper that's telling you this and be like, that can't be right. Right. I think it was a set of twins that did the 23andMe, and you know they were trying to figure out where they came from. And their results, they were identical twins, and their results weren't a piece of anything near each other. Like one was from like Poland or something as a majority, and then the other one was from sub-Saharan Africa. And they're like, what?
That's
Like,
why you can't trust that. You can't
so
trust
Yeah.
it makes it hard to try and trust, trying to figure out what area we came from, what did we worship before then, what was our culture like. And that's another thing that is traumatic for Black people, because that's something that we have yet to unpack. And that's one thing that it's like a lot of well, I can't say a lot, but some white people, they will look at us and be like, slavery was so long ago. Why are you still mad about that? Because y'all were still benefiting off of the practices that y'all put in place then.
Right.
We're still suffering from it as a result. How many of y'all got your 40 acres and a mule? I'll wait. So
right.
they were right, Greg. So there's so many things that we would need to unpack to try and figure that out. Our culture, our religion, our heritage, trying to figure out the language, how we dress, carried ourselves, how we took care of our children, the village that we used to help raise up our children. There's so many things that we're missing out on, and that is affecting our mental stability as well. There's a lot of people who want to, if not go back, just at least experience some part of their culture to try and, just interact or just be tuned in to what we had.
Right.
And we're struggling with that.
It's upsetting. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Greg.
It's upsetting when I come across another Black person that doesn't even care to even want to know. It's like, where are you in this day and age? Where is your mental health at? That you are so oblivious and don't care. That actually bothers me. It's not that I'm like just some, oh, I'm black, I'm bliggity black. No, I'm not like that. I'm seriously like, I have questions. You don't have any? You really just want to take this and just sit back? That bothers me.
I think
I will say that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, if you look at it where everybody has their own history within slavery, every Black American, they have their own path to where they get to today. And
but
so
we're still enslaved.
what I'm saying is that we don't know how that comes out, what kind of person that creates, but they are still affected. That still is not their true thoughts, feelings, and stuff like that. It's still because of wherever they are at within their timeline of slavery until today. So you have, like, maybe just having I kind of look at it to where even the most conservative Republican, pro-Trump Black person, I can see how they are affected by Jim Crow white supremacy and stuff. So I don't associate with you, but I understand, you know what I mean? Like they are just wherever they are at, and their experiences from how people have treated them and their families might be different. They might have, always had money, always been educated, always. And so they look at it differently, and they look at maybe another person's Black experience more like, white people do.
So they was house niggas, and like you was like descendants of Nat Turner.
I didn't want to say that.
I was
However,
gonna say it.
Yes.
I
the dynamics where there were people who were able to work in the house, and there were people who were able, but they were both enslaved. They just have a different, experience of it, and so they pass those experiences down to their, and so we all affected by this in one way or another.
And it may take it, and you have to think that just because they don't want to know now, doesn't mean that they will never want to know. Yeah. Because it's something could occur, they could encounter something that just turns that light on, like, hey, I think I need to start researching. Because I will tell you, I know about, so the way that I was brought up, I'm a military brat, and we kind of talked about this before. I have always been taught about to take care of and with the nucleus of the family. Mm-hmm. The nucleus is the most important. Mom, dad, whatever siblings, that's it. Everybody else, we love y'all, but if y'all screw it up, I'm easy to disconnect if you are not the nucleus. That might not be the best response, but that's what it is. If you're not my nucleus, right? Mm-hmm. So I know I have aunts and uncles, cousins and stuff, but they're not close to me like maybe, let's say, I'm just gonna say Candice, for instance. Candice might have a huge family, and all the cousins all come to the house on a regular basis. She sees them all the time, and they're always talking to her. I don't have that. You know what I'm saying? I don't have it. That's not how my family is. So growing up, past my aunts, uncles, and cousins, I didn't care about who else was there. I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? However, when I went to Africa, that was what made me say, okay, I need to know where, outside of Virginia, outside of my people that are in Texas, I need to know where we coming from. I want to see, because when you set foot in a land where you are not the minority, where all you see is positive images of you everywhere, when the westernized standard of beauty is not it, where you went, I am telling you, it gives you a whole other interest, a whole other insight, and it makes you change your view. I will say, and I think I told Kela about it when I came back from Cameroon, I don't think I wore shapewear for about a good 2 years after I came. I was always a thick girl, don't want to be skinny. I put on a body magic in a minute so that you don't see my rolls, so that you don't see me jiggling. I wore it every single day, trying to fit into the westernized standard of beauty.
You got over there and it was like, hey,
I got over there, I said, everybody is, woo, look at this movement. You know what I'm saying? Look at all this movement, and don't care, and still got little B-pole African men whistling, hollering. I know they was hollering. I didn't understand what they were saying, but I know they was trying to holler at the girl. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, wow. It was a wow, an aha moment. And so it definitely made changes to when I came back home. You know, I'm not gonna look at the stank face at the girl that everybody else was like, oh, she like a can of biscuits, she busting out her clothes. Because in Africa, she'd have got more drinks than you. She's on the floor getting it. Everybody built like Lizzo. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then you get into a different view of culture. I mean, if I got skinny, my husband's gonna be looking at me like, is he not taking care of you?
Is she sick?
Yeah, are you sick? Because your thick wife is a reflection of your wealth. So when you get skinny, she either sick or you poor. What happened? You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I brought that up to show the perspective. So you never know when they really want to know about. I saw traditions there we don't do here. Their funerals,
so much.
They not like ours.
It's a celebration.
Right. It's so when you start to see that, I think that's where what Dr. Whitlow was saying earlier, you start getting a stronger sense of identity when you go into the thick of it. I felt more of an identity when I was there. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I got two people. Oh, Frank Olivier said he feels the exact same way. He went to Cameroon as well and felt the same way. Albert Brunson says, when armed with the knowledge of true history, what happens then? Will there be a divide from ones who want to follow the history to those who want to follow their current paths? I think everyone grows and at their own pace. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I don't think Public Enemy had an issue with Tribe Called Quest. Y'all are giving the same message,
same energy,
in a general sense. But if I don't want to walk around in all black with my fist up, that doesn't make me any less in tune than being a backpack lyricist, you know, with Tribe. It doesn't make it any different. But I will say, I feel, this is not the view of everybody on this screen, I feel that the only people who are going to push that divide is us. We are the ones that push the divide amongst our own culture a lot of times.
It worked so well. It worked so well. Okay. It was a psychological experiment that worked out perfectly. You know, like us not being aware that it's going on to be able to identify how to stop it, that is going away. We are now, people are now more, we are just more educated than previous generations. And so that will change. That will definitely change. It will become less and less.
That's why I don't like the whole woke thing. I don't like that term. It's educate yourself. Period. Point blank.
Because I've seen a whole lot of woke that's wrong.
Huh?
I've seen a whole lot of woke that's wrong.
Wrong. Right. Because they're not educating themselves.
Right.
But those aren't what we're talking about.
Huh?
They'll get, I said, but those aren't the people who are really woke.
No.
No.
So we are at 1 hour and 20. So we are going to do our roundabout and shut down. So last words, last thoughts. I'm going to start with Candice.
Thank you, Dr. Whitlow, for coming on. We really appreciate your insight and information that you shared with us. This mental health discussion was definitely needed. Woo! Especially after this week, these past 7 months. Look, all of 2020. Everybody, please, if you are not near your baseline, if you're not near your 0 and you're somewhere between 3 and 6, go talk to somebody. It's okay. Male, female, it doesn't matter. It's not less masculine if guys go talk. Everybody needs to talk to someone. As a female, you're not less of a woman if you feel like you need to go speak with someone. If you need to just talk with a friend, if you need to talk with someone who has a different perspective, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Don't let the mental health or mental illness taboo sit in on you.
Right.
Go seek help. It's okay. Okay. Just to wrap everything up, go wash your hands, wash your ass, socially distance, because there's still COVID going on. People are still getting sick. People are still dying. The numbers are increasing now. So if you can order stuff and have it delivered to the house that keeps you from going outside, do that. Right. If you can keep your kids safe at home by not leaving and going a bunch of different places that aren't necessary, do that. My kids are at home. I give all the biggest honor to my husband because he is fucking amazing. He's taking care of these crumb snatchers we got in housing, bruh. Online school is a beast. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
So hats off to all the teachers because y'all are amazing too. Thank you.
Right.
So wash your hands, wash your ass, socially distance. Everybody stay safe. Love y'all.
All right, Greg, what you got?
Look, I'm gonna tell y'all like this, straight up. What Dizzy just said a second ago was so prolific and no one caught it. But if Tribe Called Quest went against Public Enemy in the verses, would be dope. I'm sorry. Anyway, anyway. No, going back to what you really said earlier though, Dizzy, and I held this because I've been learning to listen. I know y'all don't believe me, but I've been learning to listen. You said earlier, leave me alone, Candice. You said earlier about how, like, even Candice said it, how y'all are being more vigilant. And Dr. Whitlow was talked about being hyper vigilant and things like that. Listen, check on y'all friends and family that are in the military or that are veterans. Check on them seriously. Because I'm telling you now, I really suffer from this shit. Because I can't even go to a restaurant with my wife. And this is before COVID. I gotta sit where I can see the door. I have to, you know what I'm saying, make sure, hey, why he, okay, he cool. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta really check on these people, because it's a lot of us that already suffer from this before this Trump administration. We've already suffered from this. You know, that's why, like, some of us, we don't care. We still gonna go to the store. I'm still gonna go. Like how Candice says she gonna order instead of going to the store. No, I'm going because I'm already armed anyway. It's on the hip. What you want to do? It ain't the fact that I want all the smoke, but I ain't gonna goddamn gonna put it out. What you want?
Right.
So it's like, check on these people. And like I said before, I go through the depression. I do, I have these things: PTSD, depression, anxiety. You know, people have fight or flight. I don't have a flight problem. I have, do I got a fight problem? And I don't want to fight, but do I got to fight?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like we gotta check on our people. Seriously. So I want all y'all to do that, and love, and push positivity. That's what I want y'all to do. Thank you.
Cool. Miss Kela Mahogany.
This was a fantastic show. Like I feel more at ease. Thank you, Dr. Whitlow. Like, I love talking to therapists and psychologists. One thing that I want to do now that Biden won, Kamala Harris is in office. I think that one initiative that I want to do over the next 4 years is see how we can make the election day a federal holiday. So if anybody has any information that pertains to that, please share it on the What You Got to Say wall. I will be doing research on this. I'll update everybody. The more that I find out about it, what's possible, what's not possible. There may be a change.org petition and all that, because I think it is, like it showed, the more people that participate in the election, the more the popular, like what is really going on in this country will be represented through our leadership. So let's just make this accessible to all citizens. So I would love your help. Like I said, if you have any information on that, any direction I can, point me in a direction I can start with, put it on the What You Got to Say wall. And y'all have a good week.
And Dr. Whitlow.
So first, Shonda or Desi, look, I go way back. I want to thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me here. And to all of you, thank you so much for just making me feel so welcomed. I've loved this. So I want to put this out there. I don't know what the format is, but if you all want to do kind of a continual mental health theme once every quarter or so and have me come on, I would absolutely love that, because it's something that you can't tackle in one day. It's something that is ever growing and ever changing, and so to be able to revisit it and build upon what we've talked about before, I would love to do that. So I want to put that out there. I want to really quickly piggyback on what Candice said about getting yourself some help. People often don't understand how to do that. So one, I just want to clarify psychologists and psychiatrists. So a psychologist is where you would get your talk therapy from, where you would sit down and simply talk to someone about what you're going through and have a partner in life to kind of walk you through the struggles, looking at life, resolving some unresolved issues, and figuring out a plan for how to get to the point where you want to be. And then you have the psychiatrist, which is a medical doctor who has a specialization in mental health, who would prescribe meds if you're to that point where medication would be something that could help you. And all you would need to do is go to your to the website of your insurance plan and look up providers in your area, and they have it where you can specify if you want male, female, what race you would like, if you want someone who has a certain religion, if you want someone who has training in certain issues. You can look for all of that right on your insurance plan's website, so that you know that you're covered, you'll know what your copay would be, and you would be able to know who you're getting and have an idea of, at least from a general perspective, if they would be a good fit. So that's something that I want you all to know. Last thing I'm going to share, and I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, is just about the self-care, because I know we brought it up as an issue to discuss and we didn't get to it because all this other great stuff came up. But I want to say that self-care, people usually make self-care so much more complex than it really is, and so they don't end up engaging in self-care activities or acknowledging the self-care activities that they engage in, because we make self-care this grand complex idea. All self-care is the intentional, deliberate act to take care of yourself, your health, and your well-being. That's it, right? And so there are 6 different levels of this that I want to identify just really quickly. The first one is self-care in order for you to attend to your basic needs. Sometimes we just have to make sure that we are eating our 3 meals and 2 snacks, that we are getting our 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and that we are attending to our hygiene and our appearance. Sometimes that's what our self-care looks like. The next level of self-care is the self-care that attends to your relaxation and tension release. So doing things that help you to relax and alleviate the tension in your own life. Some ideas could be self-massages, where you buy like a pedicure or a foot massage machine for yourself, one of the chair massagers that you sit in the chair and you just at home are able to get massages where you're not having to periodically pay money to get massages. Also doing the bubble baths for yourself. Also listening to music that soothes and relaxes you, right? The third level of self-care is self-care that helps you to gain enjoyment and that helps you to be distracted from your stressors. So doing things that you enjoy. Taking time to table your responsibilities for a moment so that you can do things that simply make you feel good. The fourth level is social connection. Engaging in self-care that allows you to socially connect with people, having meaningful conversations with people, attending and being a part of Zooms such as these right here and podcasts such as these right here. Being able to have balance. So yeah, I have responsibilities that I have to attend to, but I'm also going to make sure that I am doing things that I enjoy that make me feel good. The fifth level is to pamper yourself. Now you notice we're at the 5th level, and now is the only time that we're involving money. People often tell me, oh, I can't engage in self-care because I don't have money to. You don't need to have money to engage in self-care. I just gave you 4 different levels of examples where you don't need to. But now the pampering piece, this might be where you go out and you get a massage, you get a mani and pedi, you go to a comedy club, you go to a sporting event, you're spending money, you're traveling, you're going on a trip, right? So that's the pampering yourself aspect of self-care. And then the last aspect is goal attainment. Once we have taken care of all of our lesser needs, so our basic care needs, our need to enjoy ourselves and be happy, our need to connect with people, then our focus can be on attaining our goals. And I would imagine for all 4 of you in here now, getting together every Sunday and doing this is self-care for you, because this is a part of a goal that you have set, the ways that you want to impact the world and reach people. Y'all are worldwide. I cannot tell you when Dizzy said that he was in France, I'm like, y'all are international, right? Y'all have set goals to do this and impact people. And so the work that you put into doing this, the time you devote on Sundays and the work throughout the week, I bet that feels like self-care. It feels good to you. And so once you get to that level where all these other lower levels are attended to, your basic needs, your need to connect with others, your need to make sure you're happy, then it's satisfying for you to go about attaining your goals. And so I just wanted people to realize that self-care can look like whatever you need it to look like in that moment. And although right now goal attainment might be satisfying for you all, you might hit a hiccup in your life. You might be experiencing a stressor in a moment where you got to go back to ground zero and say, let me just make sure I'm eating all my meals. Let me make sure that I'm getting the sleep that I need. Let me make sure that my schedule is correct, that I'm not working 18 hours a day and only leaving myself the remaining hours to do what I need to do. Let me recalibrate, right? So self-care has many different levels. It can look like whatever you need it to look like in that moment. And every day, go about doing something for you. That's what self-care is, plain and simple. Thank you all for having me.
No
Hey,
problem.
why when you talk, it sound like a big ass hug?
I love that feedback. Yes.
No, I'm not even trying to bullshit you. It's like a big ass hug, but you listen and then you get feedback, and it's so dope. Like, for real.
Thank you so much.
So, again, I have got to say thank you so much, Dr. Whitlow, for coming on the show today. You didn't even have to put it out there. I have a feeling that by the time we get off this call, we are already going to be like, okay, so how often can we have her?
How can we get her back?
Yeah, because I think that this is definitely something that we need as a whole as we get ready to face the rest of life, and getting back to the norm even after COVID, getting past January the 20th. I mean, just a lot of things I feel are going to occur. You got holidays coming up that are going to look tremendously different than they have every other year for us. So I definitely think that you will definitely be a reoccurring face on the show.
Yes.
I know one thing you forgot to do: your social media handles, and
Yes.
also about the videos that you put up every week for. I need you to talk about that so that they know you legit. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, so on Facebook, I'm Natalie Whitlow, WHITLOW. On Instagram, I am a Young Docs Views. A underscore. Look, I haven't had to say this. Let me see. A underscore Young underscore Docs with an S, and then underscore Views.
Okay, and we'll get it all from you as well to put it in the
To put it up. Okay.
Your videos.
And then I have a YouTube channel. One Dope Psychologist is the name of the YouTube channel. And so I put up mental health videos. And I told you guys, my mission is to help people see that mental health is an everyday, everybody experience. And so I'm putting up videos that talk about everyday issues and helping people to understand how what they're going through on a day-to-day basis is a manifestation of mental health, how you can manage it to make sure that it does not morph into mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
May I ask a question? Dr. Whitlow, are you VA accredited?
I am not VA accredited.
And I ask that because you are a dope doctor, but I want to be able to give you my business.
Yes. Even though, okay, so I do have veterans that I see. So, but I don't need to be VA accredited in order to see veterans and to get clientele from the VA.
Tell me how we can do that.
Yes. So I have an email address that people solicit my services to. And so that is dr.whitlow78@gmail.com. And so that's where people send me emails, solicit, reach out, and see if I can work with you. Now, with the VA insurance allows me to see people interstately. So I can see you in whatever state you live in. Not all private insurance allows for that. Sometimes you have to be in my state of Ohio, but for veterans and through the VA, I can see people who live in any state. dr.whitlow78@gmail.com.
So you about to be my doctor, right?
So again, I want to definitely say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and talk to us, and answer questions, and again, as he said, make everyone feel like you just gave us a big old hug and acknowledged how we were feeling and explained why we were feeling this way, and also, as we always want to do, giving tools on how to combat this or maneuver through life. I will say this. I feel that I'm a very strong person. I know that I'm a very strong person, But I will say that even as myself, when people put, and again, I'm going back to memes on Facebook when they say, check on your strong friends, we are not okay. Sometimes we are not okay. Few years back, I needed to go see somebody. And it took my husband to tell me, you are off.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. What is going on? And when you get to the point where you can't articulate it, I don't know. Something is wrong, but I don't know. I don't know how to tell you. I don't know what I feel. I don't know. But you know, so I would like to just people just to know that when your friends, your loved ones tell you that something is wrong, that you are off, please listen to them. Because had it not been for my husband consistently saying something is wrong, I don't know where we would be. I really don't know where we would be right now. And I got assistance, figured out there was a whole slew of stuff that I had not processed. Basically, I hadn't grieved something correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Something happened. I thought I was over it. I thought I grieved, and no, I did not. And I was still functioning as if I was, what I do, I compartmentalized and put it to the side and thought it was taken care of. And just something just kept beating on that box. And I didn't know that's what that was bothering me the way it was. And seeing somebody helped me a lot. Helped me a lot, helped me get in tune with some things that I didn't know were going on with me, and also gave me tools to navigate in the future if it ever happens, if things ever happen like that again. And so mental health is important. Do not throw it to the wayside. It is definitely needed. I thank you guys so much. Everyone who commented and listened, thank you so much. We love y'all for what you got to say. We miss you, Cabana. We'll see you later. Love y'all. Bye.